All the women on my mom's side of the family, by their 20s, late 20s, they start having some hip issues. By their 30s, affects their life, and by their late 40s, it's usually, early 50s, usually hip replacements. And I followed suit. By my late 20s, I was hurting. By my 30s, it started affecting things. By my late 40s, I wasn't walking. I wasn't able to clean my house. I wasn't able to go walking anymore. I wasn't able to have dance marathons with Noel. We would have someone come in and help me clean the house. Sunday mornings were exhausting. Going to the store with Christopher one night, and it was a rainy night, and those wet nights, those damp days made it worse. And I'm hanging on to him because I'm hurting, and he's like, "They sell canes here?" And I was like, "I would assume." And he's like, "Let's go find a cane," and we did. So it had gotten pretty bad. Nancy Mazensky and I were talking one morning on our way to Empower, and she's like, "How's your hip feeling?" And we were talking about it, how much I was hurting, how it's affecting my life. And she's like, "How come you never put a prayer request in? You do the prayer email. How come you never put it in?" And I'm like, that's a good question. I just didn't think about it. And I did. I started thinking about it. I think I didn't think about it because a little bit of mom mode, like you think about everybody else and not yourself. So I put it in prayer email, and then I guess probably 2 weeks after that, Pastor Chris texted me asking me, how's your hip feeling? And he asked me the same thing, like, how come you haven't had someone pray over you? And that's when I kind of realized I accepted what was, put in my lap. All the women on my mom's side of the family started this pattern and ended up with hip replacements, and I just accepted that that's the path that I was headed down. So Chris is like, "All right, this Sunday we're gonna pray and anoint you," and they did. By that end of that night, I get up, Joe and I are sitting, and I get up from the couch, and I'm like, "Joe," I'm still walking gingerly because I would get like sharp pain, so I was always walking carefully, waiting for that sharp pain. I'm like, I'm walking like no pain. And each day it got better, and there was like, by the end of the week, those sharp pains were just like twinges. I was cleaning my house. Who gets excited to clean their house? And I was excited cleaning my house. Dance marathons again with Noel. I can go walking. I'm going to the gym for the first time in 2 years today. I do Sundays with no pain. And then probably 6 weeks or so afterwards, my hip started hurting me really bad, really bad. And I was like, I text Pastor Chris, and I'm like, what the heck, man? I thought I was healed. And he encouraged me, to claim that healing, that it was a lie, to tell Satan to shut up, claim that healing. And I did. For probably about a week, anytime that, the pain started up again, I was like, nope, I'm healed. I claim that healing. Rigo and Nancy prayed one more time over me. And I still have some limitations. I can't run, which I'm not upset over, but I can't run. Moving my hip in certain ways. It's not even really hurt, it's more of a stiffness. But I'm going to the gym, I'm walking, I'm serving God without any pain, without any limitations. I'm taking care of my family without any limitations. I couldn't go shopping by myself. I want to be grateful for what God has done. So this little limitation is no big deal in me because my life has gone back to normal again. But at the same time, through this process, He's taught me, He showed me, like, don't just accept what's there. Bring it to me and I'll take care of it. So some days it's like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, so what? Because life is good. And sometimes it's like, nope, okay, God, I'm gonna bring this to you, and there's more to it. There's more to the story. He's got more for me. He's got more for me.
My odyssey actually starts 2 years ago. Almost. When I came down with myasthenia gravis. It's an autoimmune disease. Very rare. I never even heard of it until I got it. it's a disease there's no cure and you don't get over it, but you don't die from it. You die with it. That's how it was explained to me. One of the things they did with that was they put me on prednisone because I was having trouble holding my head up. And because of that shoots your sugar out of whack, and I couldn't get my medical card, so I couldn't drive a tractor trailer anymore, which is what I was doing. So essentially I was out of work. In January at some point I got the flu. Everybody does, you don't think much of it. And my doctor gave me, medication for it, and I got better, and I was okay for about a week or two. And then I got sick again, and I thought, well, I got the flu again. And I couldn't get up. I mean, it was rough. I was like, wow. And finally I went to the doctor, and he wanted me to go get blood work. And they sent me to the hospital that night to get blood work done. And when the results came back, I found out that my platelet count, and platelets are the things that help you clot, your blood to clot, supposed to be between 140,000 and 440,000, and mine were 4,000. From that point on, I was in the hospital for almost a month while they tried to figure out what was going on. And after a few times of getting bone marrow biopsies, which are no fun, they still hadn't figured out what was wrong. In the meantime, I'm in the hospital for weeks on end, and lucky for me, a bunch of people from church came up to see me. Jerry Shivo, Mike Francis, and Shaoki came, and they all prayed with me and over me. I was getting blood transfusions and the platelet transfusions, and the day they give you the transfusion, your platelets go up, and the next day they go down. And it was like a roller coaster. And I was actually, my faith was getting a little shaky at that point because I didn't see myself really getting better. I know Jesus can cure you in the blink of an eye. And I was like, well, why isn't anything happening yet, and why am I not getting better? Then on a fateful Tuesday, Pastor Chris came up. We were waiting for the doctors to come, give me the results of a third bone marrow biopsy to try and narrow down what I had. And all I wanted to do was get out of there, but that wasn't happening. And then Pastor Chris prayed over me as well. Shortly after Pastor Chris left, and the doctors came in and they told me that I have this thing called a GATA2 gene mutation. I mean, I was thrilled to get out of there, out of the hospital, because it gives you the feeling of, you're getting better, even though there was still a lot going on. And, the Lord saw fit to at least guide the doctors enough that they were pretty sure they, had what it was. And I haven't been back to the hospital since then. I haven't had to get any more transfusions. They still check my blood, like monthly, to see where it's at. But there's been no cause for, anything else, medically to transpire right now. And I give all that credit to the Lord because doctors couldn't figure it out. And, God knew what he was doing.
Since I was a little kid, I've always gotten sick a lot. All different types of viruses. I had Epstein-Barr and cytomegalovirus virus and chronic fatigue, allergies, food intolerances, candida overgrowth, then Lyme disease. So all these different things always affected my health. But also since I was a little kid, I always was a bad sleeper. My mind would wander and I'd just be up till all hours of the night, even as a little kid. So when I got to be a teenager and my health was affecting my sports and my schoolwork, and I started really trying to figure out what was going on with my health, I had doctors saying to me, well, how do you sleep? Do you sleep enough? And I was like, no, I don't sleep enough. And then I'm starting to read books about sleep. All of a sudden, like the light bulb went on, like, oh crap, like I'm a bad sleeper and that must be why I'm always getting sick. And so it got cemented in my head that if I don't get enough sleep, then I'm gonna keep feeling bad. So I started to really try harder to sleep better, which obviously anybody with sleep problems know that the harder you try to sleep better, the more anxiety you get around the sleep. So these two were just kind of cemented together, my health and my sleep. This has been with me for up until recently. In November, I was at the doctor, still trying to get to the bottom of things. Like, I would have good seasons and then bad seasons. So I was at the doctor, and he said, well, how's your sleep? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you going to bed early enough? Are you trying to, are you darkening the room and all that? And I was like, yeah, like I do the best I can with my sleep. I do all those things, and I'm still not a great sleeper. I got 3 kids. Sometimes they wake up, can't go back to sleep. And he sat back and he said, do you have people you can talk to? I know you're a pastor and you listen to a lot of people, but do you have people you can talk to? And I said, yeah, I got people I can talk to. And he said, I don't mean a friend, I mean a professional, like a pastor or counselor. He said, and I don't even mean somebody that you are also friends with, and you go out and have a beer with them and you share with them some frustrations. He says, I mean somebody that you can ask them, can you please put on your professional hat while I talk with you? And he said, because there's some mental stuff going on. And I said, okay. So I asked Lori D'Amico, who does pastoral counseling for women in our church, if she would be willing to make an exception for me, a guy, and do a session with me. I sat down with her back in December, and she started to just probe about the, history as a kid and being a bad sleeper and all that. And after telling me that she thinks that I probably struggle with ADD or OCD or both, which makes sense, probably do, she said something that really hit me. She said, it sounds like the sleep is almost like an idol. Like you need to get this sleep in order to feel better, and because it's like this evasive thing that, if only I could get it, then I'll feel better. And I was thinking about that the next day. I was walking around my neighborhood and I was praying, and I remember thinking about it, and it was like God said to me, yes, you don't need to sleep better in order to feel better. Yes, from a human perspective, they're connected, but it was like God said, don't stress so much about it. Don't get so much anxiety over the fact that you're a bad sleeper. Just rest in the fact that I can still heal you. I can still make you feel better, even if you're not sleeping better. And all of a sudden, the anxiety over my sleep broke in a huge way, where I was like, yeah, I don't have to sleep better in order to feel better. And so there would be nights where I'd be laying awake, hearing things and not being able to go back to sleep, but it wasn't causing the anxiety it used to cause. And I've been able to just rest, read the Bible, pray, hang out, and not have that anxiety, not worry that, this is gonna make me feel sick. And then what it did was, because that anxiety over my sleep broke, all of a sudden I started sleeping better. I started having a good night's sleep, and then another good night's sleep, and then another good night's sleep. And it just was like, all of a sudden I'm sleeping better, and then I'm starting to feel better. And even on nights when I don't sleep good, I don't get that anxiety. I don't worry that, oh no, all the health things are gonna be set off. I've just been able to rest and trust that God is in control. And so that's been huge for me, because that's been something I've been dealing with since I was a little kid, this shame over the fact that I'm a bad sleeper. And now that's been broken. So I thank God, and I thank God that he sent me to a doctor who told me I need mental help, who sent me to Lori D'Amico, who said something that God used. So that's my story.